You're my bread when I'm hungry. You're my shelter from the troubled winds. You're my anchor in life's ocean. But most of all, you're my best friend.
You're my bread.
You betcha.
When I'm hungry.
Oh yeah.
You're my shelter in troubled wind.
You're my anchor in life's ocean.
But most of all,
You're my best friend.
You're my bread when I'm hungry. You're my shelter in troubled wind. You're my anchor in life's ocean. But most of all, you're my best friend.
You're my anchor in life's ocean.
But most of all, you're my best friend. I want to talk to you. This is sort of a elementary school, catch you up to date a little bit. Comes from 1 Peter 3, verse 7. Husbands, that's you. Dwell with your wives, and that's you, according to knowledge. What? We're supposed to have knowledge about our wives? Forget it. Husbands, dwell with your wives according to knowledge, giving honor to your wife as unto the weaker vessel. And I know that doesn't help a lot of people in modern day society, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. As being listen to this. You better do it because you are going to be heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. Do you want to know why a lot of times your prayers are hindered? It's because there is division and strife with the husband and wife. Till death do us part. The I do is easy. The living together is hard. Man said, my wife and I have words. I just never get to use mine. Psychologists will tell you, women tend to marry men who are just like their fathers. That's why mothers cry at weddings. Some a little slow today, I can catch that. A lot of marriages need restored. And some marriages just need resurrected because they're dead. But your marriage, in whatever shape it's in, is not beyond help or repair. Because if Jesus could raise Lazarus from the dead, he can resurrect your dead marriage, and he can restore the passion of the past, and he can remove the pain of the present. The only one question that's important about your marriage. And it's a simple yes or no question. Do you want your marriage to work? Yes or no? Well, Mack, I just don't know. That's a no. There's no other answer. There's a yes and there's a no. That's it. Now, if your answer is no, I can't help you. A boatload of counselors can't help you, and a trainload of preachers can't help you. God can't help you. Because if your answer is no, nobody can fix your marriage. Now, the reason I don't do marriage counseling is because in counseling, a lot of people go to counseling with no intention of trying to make their marriage work. They're playing games with their mate and with the counselor so they can say, I tried. No, you didn't try, you lied. If you don't want your marriage to work, you will murder your marriage because that's what you want. Now, some of you have messed up marriages in your past. It was messed up. Some of you have more than one messed up marriage in the past. And it scarred you. It left you scarred, wounded. Anybody can sit around and whine and whimper and weep about the past. Forget the past. Someone put on Facebook, I wish it had been me, but it wasn't. But it said, and I think Joe shared it, don't stumble over something that's behind you. That's powerful. A lot of you are stumbling around in the future because of something that's already behind you. Forget the past. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't change it. Just forget it. And quit talking about the problems of the past and start looking for the solutions for the present. There is a place who has answers. It's called God's Word. Now, you don't need a gun to murder your marriage because the power of life and death is in the tongue. And we say some of the most brainless things. Wife says, my husband is uncaring, wretched, lazy, louse, and that's his good points. And husbands say, I just don't love her anymore. She's changed. The old gray mare ain't what she used to be. Have you checked the stud pen lately? He ain't much either. We all change. Sooner or later, we all suffer from baldness, bifocals, bulges, bunions, and bad memories. And if you don't think you've changed, look in the mirror. Mirrors don't lie. And thank God they don't laugh either. If you will pay attention and heed this message today, in 30 days, guys, your serpent will become a fish. And ladies, your frog will become a prince. Because this message, if you will hear it and pay attention to it, will change your life and change your marriage. 1 Peter 3:7, husbands, dwell with your wife according to knowledge. The major cause of friction in marriages is that men and women, they just don't understand each other. God made men and women different. Thank you, Lord. Women's faults are many. Men only have two. Everything they say and everything they do. God made men and women different, and they don't think the same. In 1981, Dr. Roger Sperry won a Nobel Prize for his study on how the brain in males and females work. And he discovered something, that between the 16th and the 26th week of gestation, two chemicals are released in boy baby's brain that slows down the development of the right side of the brain. Doesn't happen. Those chemicals are not in girl babies. So actually, Dr. Sperry discovered what all women already knew, that men are born with brain damage. Women, see, your brain has two lobes, right and left. Women are right-brained. That's why they are so caring and nurturing and loving. Men, left brain. That's logic. And they'll never understand each other. A right brain will never understand left brain. All men know that sick feeling when the wife says, "Do you remember?" And she's really expecting you to remember because this was important to her. Do you remember? And then she goes into all of this detail of what happened. And he can't even remember that it happened. He's sitting there. My wife has the uncanny ability to remember the unimportant and insignificant that I totally reject and have no clue what she's talking. I have no clue what she's talking about. Ladies, it's not because men don't care. His brain is just different. It works different if it works at all. Trying to solve marriage problems with pure logic or pure emotion is pure disaster. Women start off in marriage with the idea that they're going to change their husband. When God said, "Be not unequally yoked together with unbelievers," women go to dating some guy that's not Christian and not in church. And she says, "Well, we'll get married and he'll get saved and get in church." Probably not. Now, there is a way you can do that, but we'll talk about that another day. But they just don't think alike. And if women say, "Well, we get married and he'll change," I'll change him when we get married. If you change him into what you want him to be, you will change him into a right-brained creature, which is by definition a woman. And what woman wants a little sweetie for a husband? It's the nature of a woman to want to change her husband. God made him different for a reason, and you better leave him the way God made him. Another reason they're different, women enjoy the process of reaching a goal. Men just want to get there. Let me give you an example. Shopping. Women enjoy the process. Joe and I went to the front page in Neosho some time back. I walked in, I looked, they had a whole rack of sport coats. She headed for the women's department. I went over and I looked. It took me about 3 minutes. Wasn't nothing there I wanted. So I meandered around a minute and I thought, well, I'm bored. I'll go see if she's found anything. So I go over and she's looking. And I said, "Found anything interesting?" She said, "Look at this." Oh, she said, "I saw something over here." So she goes over to another rack and she takes, this one is a 3-piece item. This one is a 2-piece item. She said, "I could take this and put it with this." And this will go with this. And I don't even need this. I'm standing there in awe. I finally said, well, you got to have them both. I mean, it's not the bargain, it's the hunt. Just looking. They're looking like they're on a mission from God or something. They go into a trance. Men shop different. They will usually call the store to be sure they have what he's looking for. They go through the door straight to that department, find their item, get up, pick it up, go ahead straight to the 3 minutes and they're out the door. Process or goal. Women just want to enjoy the trip. When we're traveling, I say, don't look. There's a rummage sale sign on it. She wants to stop at rummage sales and flea markets and, oh, hush. Men and women are different. It's authority and submission. Ephesians 5:23 says, the husband is the head of the wife as Christ is the head of the church. When a husband is not the spiritual head of his home, the home is out of divine order. Now I'm going to stop a minute. Because sometimes men will not take the spiritual lead, and it's up to the mother to be faithful and to have her children in church so they have a foundation in spite of what the husband does. You don't stay home because he stays home. Battle of the sexes did not begin with the ERA and the burning your bras back in the 60s. It began in the Garden of Eden when God said to the woman, your desire shall be to your husband. And that has absolutely nothing to do with sex. It had to do with authority. It had to do with who God was going to hold responsible and accountable. See, Eve had been deceived. And then she gave to Adam. But Adam did not escape. And he said, you are responsible. From now on, he said, the husband is going to be responsible and accountable. And that's what he meant when he said, your desire shall be to your husband, because he's going to have authority. If a man is not leading the family, there'll be confusion and division in the home. And the ERA, the NOW, the ACLU, and the Congress of the United States will never change God's opinion about divine order. Then there's the difference of Midol and Tylenol. Women go through an ovulation cycle about every 28 days. Guys, that means you've got 21 days of hormone balance, wine and roses, and then you have 7 days of chemical imbalance, days of thunder and lightning and hurricanes and tornadoes and earthquakes. Mood swings that are dramatic and unexplainable. Give you an example. Man comes home from work. His wife meets him at the door wearing nothing but some high heels. They rush off to the bedroom. Next day, man's left brain logic is in overdrive. He leaves work early, breaks the speed limit going home. He's expecting a repeat performance. He rushes through the door, grabs his wife and gives her a kiss, and she says, "Don't touch me! All you ever want is sex." Days of thunder and lightning have begun. All right. I'm going to give you 7 things that will help any marriage. If it's dead, it'll resurrect it. If it's sick, it'll make it well. And if it's all right, it'll make it better. Number 1, you ready? Number 1, forgive. Forgiveness is not optional. Forgiveness is a full pardon. It's a fresh start, another chance. It's a new beginning. Forgiveness. Listen, sooner or later, you're going to have to forgive if your marriage is going to survive. And if you're not willing to forgive, your marriage will die. And reminding your mate every so often that you've forgiven them is not forgiving them, it's twisting a knife. You've got to forgive. Number 2, husband is to lead the wife and the family. Now listen, men, how do you lead? You lead as king, as priest, and as prophet of your home. As king, he governs. As priest, he guides. And as prophet, he protects. That is God's ordained place. And God, listen, husbands, God will hold you responsible and accountable, not your wife. When you stand before God, He's going to hold you accountable for your family. Number 3, wife, you are to submit to your husband. Now, I know that goes against modern day grain. Ephesians 5:22 says, wives, submit to your own husbands. Quit running all over town getting ungodly advice from people who are ungodly. And get godly counsel. Number 4, communication, not manipulation. Communication in marriage is like blood to the body. When the blood stops flowing, the body dies. And when communication stops, the marriage dies. Talk to each other. If you only talk to yourself, you always get the answer that you want. Talk to each other. I think I'll just leave that. Sexual freedom. 1 Corinthians 7:4 says the wife has not power over her own body, but the husband. And the husband does not have power over his body, but the wife. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on that. We'll talk about that at another day. When you said, listen, when you said, I do, you gave up the right to say, I don't want to. Ladies, you can't manipulate your husband with sex. Either spoken or unspoken. If you try to manipulate him with sex, if the attitude you give or the words you say, boy, you're looking at me. Say, preacher's not supposed to talk this way. Why not? Where else are you going to get truth? If you try to manipulate your husband by attitude or words, if you do what I want you to do and you act the way I want you to act, bedroom will be exciting. But if you don't do what I want you to do and act the way I want you to act, you'll sleep with an iceberg. You just driving the stake in the heart of your marriage. Number 6, Ephesians 5. Every one of you ought to go home and read Ephesians 5 together. Ephesians 5:25 says, husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. And in verse 33, he says, wives, reverence your husband. That reverence is an interesting word. It means respect, love, honor, trust, and have confidence. And men, if you love your wife as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it, then your wife will reverence you. She will love, respect, trust, have confidence in you. Number 7. This is so important for husbands and wives. Ask Christ into your life. Be a true follower of Jesus Christ, not just a Christian in name. Amen. Have Christ in your life and in your marriage. And have a church home and a pastor. I get so frustrated today listening at these self-proclaimed preachers or ministers or whatever they call themselves, telling people you don't have to go to church to be a Christian. You're a liar, sir. Jesus did not give himself and die for a church. And people who are following these, well, we go to a Bible study once in a while. We don't need church. We don't need a pastor. You cannot change God's divine order for the church either. You're listening, listen. You're listening to a perverted gospel from a false prophet. And you better run like you was running from a basket of snakes. I want you to ask yourself some questions. Men, are you sitting there thinking, maybe I have not been the spiritual leader of my home, but I do realize God's going to hold me accountable and responsible. Don't answer. Don't do nothing. You might have a squeaky elbow and somebody hear you. Wives, if you're thinking, I have not really submitted to my husband's leadership like I should, maybe I need to make some changes. Husband and wife, if you're sitting there thinking, I've really got to concentrate on my forgiveness. I haven't been as forgiving as I should. And if you're sitting there thinking, my marriage is in serious trouble. We need a resurrection and we need a restoration in our marriage. When Jesus comes by, dead things live again. When he gets involved in your marriage, when you let him get involved in your marriage, there will be changes. But the changes will probably start in you.